going to be a long video, but we'll just play a little bit of it in a second. Hold on. So let me just recap. It's going to be about Nia talking about, she's a truck driver, semi-truck, and she's going to be talking about all of the stuff, and she says one thing, and then we'll go through the video about one thing, and then how first it's something else, and then, you know, why is this and that, and you'll see, we'll break it down. Okay, so we'll play this key part into it because it's a little 3-part piece, but this is the first part of it, and we'll just play it for a second.
Paul has nothing to do with Landstar as a whole. I get in with good agents because I network. I know other drivers that know good agents. I help other drivers as well when I know good agents in the area. So
that's what she says. The reason why she's booking all these loads is because she has her connections and she does her networking and she gets to know people, and all of a sudden all these companies, they have these loads and stuff, and it becomes a little bit more mysterious and fishy because she talks about, now if you know anything about LTL or distribution or even regional drivers, and you're looking at how much they pay for these loads. If we want to do it by mile, we can start as low as 50, 60 cents per mile, all the way up to $2 per mile, right? And on these loads that she's doing, what do you think is happening? What do you think the problem is? And all these other truckers that are looking at this and they're seeing this. So for example, she had an 1,800 mile, 27 hours. And we're going to do it both in miles and in hourly. So once you calculate the 1,800 miles with the 27 hours, if you look at anything, any driver, the average is $25 to $40 per hour if we were doing it by the hour, right? So this is going to be nothing more than top rate of 50 to 60 cents, right? And so you would assume, okay, so maybe let's say that she makes 4 times the amount, right? And that's where it gets fishy. And the reason because when she ends up at that location, she rents out a Wagoneer. That's $400 alone for 24 hours. Remember this. Then in the video, because it's on to the next day, she ends up getting a hotel at it starts with a C, and it slipped my mind, but she even says in the video it's $250 a night. So just alone with taxes and all that, $700 for a 24 hours, right? And that doesn't include all the stuff, you know, your food, the ride back, this and that, all the stuff that you would use for 24 hours, right? All the stuff you would need. But on any calculation, it would range about $800 to $900 for that load, right? And you would expect, well, even let's go up to $1, $2, and you would say, oh, well, at least, you know, it'll be $2,000, $3,000. But for some crazy reason, and think about it, it spent $700. So if you're comfortable for driving for 3 days when you have a 4-day limit and you can rent out and just spend $700 on 2 things. And if it was any other driver, if we're going to do it by 25 to 40 an hour, or even if we were doing it by mile, how in the world was she not getting $1, not $2, not $3, but over $5 to $6 a mile, totaling about $10,000 to $12,000 per one load? And anybody that's an owner operator knows that that's about 3 times the amount. So that's one thing a lot of these truckers, and we'll go on into the video because we're barely on the first part and there's 3 parts to this, is that's why everybody was calling in. And for her, like how she's explaining it right now, they're all calling in and wondering, well, how is that even possible? How are you getting 3 times the amount of an owner operator for one load?
First of all, that was not violating Synthetic policy. So whoever called and said a false claim, literally in the video I'm saying I'm in a service plaza. Are you guys stupid? Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand drivers. Like, I barely post on YouTube. I barely post on social media. I share what I want to share. And you guys still have an issue. Like, you guys are going to hate me when I get the truck that I really want.
So here's another part to that. It's that people are complaining. Other truckers are complaining about this. And the reason why is because, and I'm talking about people with 10, 20, 30 years of trucking experience, and she's making 3 to 5 times, even 8 times more than the lower end, even starting out. And she's been doing this for 4 years, but really she's been making this money for a long time now, for years. And that's why when you're saying that, and she'll come back and she'll say, oh, it's because I don't have kids, I don't have an apartment, I don't have a car. And yeah, that's all facts. But when you spend 24 hours, $700 on a rental and a hotel for one night, and you're getting paid for 1,000 miles, you're getting paid 6,000 to 8,000. That's not how it works. Because even if you broke it down and you're averaging 120 to 180, just averaging that, when truckers are making 25 to 40 an hour, if we're going to do it by hour, she was making 150 an hour. Which it still wouldn't make sense because she'd still be making 3,000 to 5,000 a shift, 10 to 12 hours or 11 hours. And you can tell with the truckers and them all saying this, like, hey, that's strange because on our social media, she's getting paid this much. And, she'll say, oh, because I'm networking. But it's very strange because you're getting paid 5, 8 times the amount that it's supposed to be. And then in the video prior to that, you were laughing at people making $1, $2 a mile, which is crazy. And so anyway, the third part, I would play it, but it's taking too long. But anyway, she ends up saying, about the Landstar drivers, all that, whatever. Okay. But the issue with this, it's like anybody, because like in the video, not this video, but the one prior to this, she says, well, it's not my fault. You drivers are making 50 cents to $1 to $2. And remember this, she's saying this, oh, well, it's not my fault you're making $1 or $2 a mile. I wouldn't do that. And then like kind of laughs about it. Like, and it's not about that. If it was me, I would go a different route. If I was her, I wouldn't say certain things. I wouldn't do on social media. It's just, it's one of those people who, and I wouldn't do that because the more you get into that kind of, like, it does sound a little, I'm not going to get into it, but it does sound a little different. But anyway, I think the further you go into this, I don't think it's, just, oh, because of jealousy or, oh, because of certain expenses, right? But when you start just taking away, chipping away different little layers through this story, these prices, these rates that she's getting for these loads, and anybody that I'll even say, not just in trucking, but even in any delivery service, right? Anybody that delivers anything, and, if they're trying to pay you a dollar a mile or $2 a mile, right? But what she's doing is unheard of, right? $5, $6, and you could do the math on it, but nobody's getting paid 150, 180 an hour per mile. Per hour. So when you're breaking that down, it doesn't make any sense because why are you getting paid so much? And she says, oh, it's because of my networking. And we'll go back to the first part where, the whole thing, it's, oh, because she's just networking. She knows this and that. She has good agents, this and that. But then we all know that that's just not the case, because if you know how this system works, there is no way she's getting those rates at those prices. And I would go, if I was her, I would say another thing that would kind of calm this down. But I don't know why she seems to be going this way, more of like a defensive instead of, because there is some, not just jealousy between the other drivers, the other truckers, but there's also something that it is a little like how are you getting those rates? And then also there's a little bit of, if you know how delivery works, if you know how trucking works, if you know how these loads work, there is something a little bit off because there's no one making that. And if you know how it works, you understand why there's no way that they can make that much unless something else is happening. And that's where it's like, well, what else is happening, right? And it's like, and you know,